like she'll try to get you by going to people that that, and it's just like, girl, like, no, life is way too valuable and short for us to spend our time doing this, And of course, like in the beginning, it was nostalgic and all that, but then you started to see the pattern of how things would go. And it was just like, okay, this is not leading to any growth or anything of that nature. So it's not something I want to continue. Why did I bring BB up? Oh, because of Austin Street. So she's going and
hi, we're on. We're live, but yeah, sites.
How do you make it side to side?
I don't know. No, not breakout. No, oh, geez. Yeah. It's no, you had it. I think it's here. Oh, jeez.
Continue talking. There's no need to stop.
My notes are there.
Okay, just keep talking. It's fine.
So, we're on live. Hi. I'm chatting with academic auntie Raquel Amar. We're going to have a nice conversation around just give me 1 sec. Jeez. Okay. All right. So, Raquel originally, well, we had worked together, but when we reconnected around fitness. But what ended up happening was a much deeper transformation that touched many parts of her life and mine too. So I'm just going to ask you, this is your story. I want to highlight some of the things that you got out of it and how it's impacted you and where you are now and what you're doing, and you share with us some good stuff. So I guess my first question is, before we met, where were you?
Before we met, I had just started teaching a couple of years previously, and our employer kind of reached out to me. In that place, I was just getting my bearings as a teacher, trying to understand what my role was. And also within my personal life, I had been dealing with some personal issues from a past relationship and kind of really trying to figure things out. So when we met with our journey together as teaching buddies, that was definitely enlightening. And you have such a huge impact on my journey. So it's beautiful that we can even come back to this in this kind of circle kind of situation, or cycle of a new status, a new bringing.
So what were you dealing with as it relates to fitness and where you were in your health journey when we met?
You're talking about recently, the more recent.
Right. No, now moving it to when we started working as a client and fitness coaching.
Right. So as you know, COVID was going on around that period. And I decided that being quarantined and home alone, there was some things that I needed to do, especially when we're thinking about, as teachers, we're also dealing with how many other personalities. So in order for me to get that balance that I felt like I needed, I started walking a lot. And around that time is when we came back together in the capacity that we did. And you mentioned to me that you were embarking on this next chapter of coaching, and that you were interested potentially with working with me. Fitness wise, I had not been working out. I was the heaviest I've actually been during that time. And there were a lot of things that in working with you, I was able to discover about myself and release some of that and embrace different things and versions of my life and my identity that I never saw before.
Okay. So then we did what we did. We exercised, we looked at nutrition, the usual. And so what were some things that changed now as it relates to you weren't working out, you were the heaviest that you'd ever been, we worked together. What were some of the physical outcomes? And then what was the internal transformation, which is really what this is about? Because at the time, I was so focused on facilitating external transformations, but simultaneously, what I realized later was there was an internal component happening. And for you, that's one of the biggest takeaways that you shared with me that you had. And I want to share with others too, how that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, of course, it starts with the external. So I didn't know that in agreeing to work with you, that there would be so many different components that you brought. You were my therapist. You were my the person at the gym, my coach. You were someone who was always checking in. You were my Fitbit, asking me how many steps I did. And so there were so many different components where the internal work came in, was in those therapy sessions. And even certain things when the exercises were going on, where you would challenge me just to push myself a little bit farther, because clearly you saw in me something that I didn't see in myself at the time. So that in itself was breaking that barrier of limiting beliefs and what I felt that I could do. And so you challenged me, you challenged me to think about some of my people-pleasing tendencies and how I could shift that to make myself the main character of my story, which is something that you assisted me in seeing. Even something as simple, and you've been consistent, because even when we were working together 20 years ago, the barriers thing was a huge piece that you encouraged me to think about. How are these relationships serving you? Are you thinking about yourself? And those are questions that I never asked myself. And you definitely encouraged me to think outside of the box and to push myself. You had me doing exercises I didn't even know existed, like the inside out crab and the Spider-Man and the
you remember?
Like, you challenged me on levels that I could not even fathom, right? And I think the other thing that you provided is safety in the space to allow that to happen, to allow that vulnerability to happen, to allow the tears to be caught by someone who is not only listening, but listening with the desire to encourage you to break that barrier that was keeping you limited for so long. And I think that's a huge benefit of working with you, is having that safe space and that simultaneously encouraging but challenging voice, right? Where you weren't sugarcoating it. Like, I'm going to tell you what it is in a loving manner, but I'm going to give it to you. And you gave me that advice and you gave me that encouragement to push me beyond what I could ever imagine that I could achieve. I literally, after working with you, and I remember our first conversation in the coaching scene, you asked me, what is a weight that you want to achieve? And you're like, do not overthink it. Just think about your dream goal. And even within my mind, I was conflicted. I'm like, I have this number in my mind, but I've never seen it before, so I don't even know if it's real. And you said, just set that goal, and we're going to work to make it a reality. And we did. And that's the lightest and the most achievable goal that I've ever done, in the sense that I had never seen that number in at least 10 years, right? And so, again, it was letting me know that my dreams can become a reality as long as I'm willing to pour into it and really think about it wholeheartedly and be vulnerable to what change looks like, because I don't know what's on the other side, and that's okay.
Right. That's sometimes even exciting. So how do you see yourself differently now,
Oh, well, I am the main character of my story.
Yay. Okay.
I just shared with you that I was part of a showcase where the sound had gone out, and I literally sang on stage in front of 200 and something students. And teenagers don't have filters. So that risk is a risk previously to meeting you or re-meeting with you and going through that process, I would have not done. I would have been the wallflower because that's who I had been most of my life. Shying away from attention, shying away from the spotlight, and just making sure everyone else is okay. And I think the biggest thing was to break through those feelings that we implement on ourselves. And on top of that, to do those things that might be even a little bit scary, but to do it anyway.
Nice. I love it. So, as it relates to just you saying being the main character of your life and the showcase and what you did, what other transformations did you experience, and what are some other? Because there's a big thing that happened. I don't know that it necessarily came directly, but you're who you are. It eventually happened. There's a big thing that came after we worked together, and obviously it's all you.
You talking about this? You talking about this?
Yes. And even the writing of the book and all those different things, but there were shifts internally. So speak to some of the shifts that.
Oh no, yes. And so again, not being too well, you know what? Why not? So after that whole relationship situation that I mentioned earlier, I literally really didn't date for a very long time. Very long time. And it's because there was fear, there was shame, there was a lot of those things. And again, working with you helped me unearth that stuff, right? And help me heal from some of that stuff and realize that tomorrow is different from yesterday. And we don't need to be living in the past, right? And so helping me to heal the wounds was preventing me from bleeding on the next person that comes into my life. So then with all of that, it helped me to begin to open up to the possibility that love was out there and that I'm open to that and I'm actually receptive and deserving, which is something that I really realized that I didn't believe before we did some of our work together. I mean, and it is a process, right? And so even being open to that, I started dating after that. I don't know if I got to share this with you, but I actually was doing speed dating. So I actually went over 120 dates before I met my husband.
Oh my goodness. Joelle
was literally under my nose. So it was definitely an opening to that. So that healing allowed me to open up again to the concept of love and to be open to explore the world and to see. I mean, you brought me to Nigeria, like something I could have never thought that I would be able to do again, because you, with our process, allowed me to heal to a place where I would take that venture, where I was excited again to see and experience the world, where I had shut myself off from a lot of those pleasures because I didn't think that I was worthy of them at one point. And what you helped me through crashing all of those limiting beliefs and what I thought I could do in terms of working out and even eating certain, like in a way that would be beneficial to my body. Those are things that now opened me up to all of the other beautiful things that life had to offer.
Nice, love it. So was there anything that surprised you or stood out to you most about the process of working together?
I think something that I was surprised and thankful for is that I think that our friendship deepened in invaluable ways. And I think what it was is it gave me an opportunity, because it is not something that we are explicitly taught, how to be a friend in adulthood. And working with you allowed me to understand, what does friendship look like? And the reason why that is so important is because in being a friend, it also reflects how you care for yourself. And I think that mirror was a beautiful time for our friendship to evolve and expand, but also for me to realize how important it is the way that I treat and speak and care for even myself. Because you can only be as present for someone else as you can be for yourself.
Right.
And that was a beautiful lesson that came from working with you.
That's why they say don't pour from an empty cup. Your cup has to be full and the overflow goes. Awesome, awesome. So if someone was watching this and they're where you were back then, even if it's not physical, like with the being overweight or needing fitness, maybe just even that state of mind where you're holding yourself back, where you're limiting yourself, where you don't feel worthy, where you're just not showing up for yourself, or you don't even know how to show up for yourself. What would you want them to know?
That working with Coach Lark is a phenomenal, invaluable experience. And I would also want them to know that with doing this work, you understand that everything that you are seeking is within you. And tapping into that is the most important piece. And it's funny because working with you, again, opens so many doors to myself, right? So many layers. I'd like to say that I've heard it before, so there's nothing new under the sun, but that we're onions, right? So we're always peeling back layers if we're intentionally doing the work. And I think that is the biggest thing, that you have to intentionally do the work. And that means sometimes facing parts of you that you didn't know were still hurting. And sometimes it might be that you thought you were healed of this thing, but then it rears its head again on a different layer or level. And now it's like, I have to find a way to actually overcome this and learn the lesson that I need to learn and take away from it. So definitely be open to the process, be open to explore the beauty that lies within each and every one of us. And if you can get your hands on Coach Lark, I would definitely recommend that, because once again, that accountability that comes with safety and love is invaluable.
Thank you. So one thing that I've noticed, even with myself and working with Raquel and the others that I've worked with, is that we think it's usually one thing, but maybe it's fitness in her case, career, relationships, but underneath it, what it really is about are the deeper patterns that need to shift. And so that's always something that surprises me, even when I started working with a business coach, and I said to you before we go on, that I was looking for techniques and strategies, but what I really ended up doing was figuring out what was underneath the pattern. And for me,
Right.
it was unworthiness that was running a lot of the things that I was doing that I had no idea. And so just doing that work, like you said, it was the onion, the first layer, and then on and on and on and on. So yeah, it's been really it's been an eye opener for me as a client, but also as a coach. So
And I think if I can add on,
of course,
is that the beautiful thing is, even in teaching, we're often told that when you know something, right? So I think I tweet the saying, right? Because they say knowledge is power. But the idea that knowledge is power only when it's applied to something, right? So when it's actually being used. And I think that in you having this dream of coaching and helping people get to their higher, better selves, or more potential, or tap into their potential, you have also learned some of these things. And the way now that you know that you can, that it actually is knowledge that you have, is because you can turnkey it and help other people discover those things within themselves.
Right.
So again, seeing it in action is the beauty of it.
It is. Embodying it, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last question is, who do you think would benefit most, from working with me?
I mean, I think there's a takeaway for everyone, but I definitely feel like women, right, especially women who are limiting themselves without even realizing it, right, or just the desire to challenge yourself to whatever that next level of who you are is, right? So I definitely feel like, and the thing is, in a society where there's so many limits and titles and all of these things, it's the concept of being able to look at who we are. So being a woman within all of these social constructs, it would be very empowering to work with you, because you would allow them and empower them to see who that next level, right, under that layer of, or that piece that's been covering them and covering their potential and their accessibility to that person, it would open that and unleash them. So I think that definitely women would definitely benefit from working with you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. So tell us what you have going on, what's been happening, many other things too, besides getting married and doing this and doing that.
Well, see, so when we talk about those limits that you helped me to break through, I am a writer by nature, right? I'm always jotting stuff down or making notes or creative things. And I have to say that working with you was a pathway to helping me make my dream a reality, excuse me, which was writing my book. So this is my first project of many. So stay tuned. However, it's called To My Beloved Students from Your Academic Auntie, which is what I call myself. And I tell my students that I'm the academic auntie in the building. And, the stuff that we've been working on and learning are some of the things that I work to share with them so that they can step into adulthood a little bit more empowered with those life lessons. Because, again, they're not things that are explicitly taught to us in our upbringings traditionally. And so this is my first project, and it's poetry from the perspective of students, right? Various different things going on. Whether it's parents that are getting divorced, whether it's being a twin and not feeling like your identity is honored, whether you're coming from the Caribbean and you're now adapting and assimilating into this culture that's so different and sees you as the other. Right. So it's really giving a voice to my students. So this is something that you can get it on Amazon, and it's under Raquel Lamar, To My Beloved Students. I'm also working on speaking engagements where I can share these lessons that I'm learning about my life with those that it can encourage them and help them to tap into their inner selves and really evolve and expand and grow. And so, yeah, those are some things I'm working on.
So I'll put a link to your TikTok, I think, and maybe even to whatever other social media platform you're on.
You'll hear me say meow meow a lot on my TikTok. And
yeah, every morning.
That means the meow meow means mighty empowered ownership of your world.
Nice.
Right? So it's the idea that you are the owner of your world and your experience. So you need to take mighty empowered ownership of that and make it the experience that you would like it to be.
Right.
As opposed to letting it be crafted by everyone around you.
Right. Nice. Love it. So don't you have something coming up?
Yes. So there is the tea party that's happening in Nicholas on Fulton Avenue. That tea party is happening, and it's going to be an extravaganza of sales and art and just exploring creativity on a different level altogether. And it's in co-partnership with my one of my co-creators, Bridget Turner. And that's in Brooklyn, and I can also share that information with you so you guys can head out there and see some of those creative things, and you can actually hear some of the readings from the book as well. I'm also working on getting a spot at an open mic in Kew Gardens, and I will also share that information with you guys. It's the second Friday before the end of the month.
Love
in
it.
Kew Gardens.
Nice. So you have a lot going on. Excited. Super stoked. So thank you so much. Appreciate you always. And
of course. And thank you. And again, I can only sing your praises and accolades for the work that you're doing. Because there is, again, because these things are not explicitly taught, you are taking the baton and running with it and setting this pace, creating something that no one's ever seen before. And I applaud you for that. And I'm encouraged and honored to have been.
I didn't ask her to say this. This is just her. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No, yes.
Lots of love.
And now they're doing this.
What is that?
That's supposed to be the heart, the Korean love.
No, I like this better. I don't understand that. Maybe my fingers are too short and thick. All right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a good night, and thank you for all of you who are watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.